happening, people? I want to make it clear that I'm not complaining in this video. I'm just letting you know what life is like if you don't sort your shit out. It's a little backstory. I came back to Scotland when I was 15, moved basically like every 2 years. My mum and stepdad split up. We were in Germany and I moved back here. I couldn't get into school here because it's like GCSEs that I was doing, and they do standards, or I don't know what they call them, because I never done them. So I got no qualifications. So instantly, in school is all like qualifications, you know. So instantly I'm like, oh well, I'm scunnered. I knew I needed to speak to someone even back then, but I didn't. I didn't make any effort myself to do it. I just accepted defeat for years. I consider that I lost my 20s basically because I spent them just doing nothing, you know, believing that I was nothing, never would be, just thinking, what's the point in life, you know? Madness, mad way of thinking. I started working at 16. I was a sandwich artist in Subway. And then I started working in a building supplies place. I was fitting garage doors. I've been a care worker. I've cleaned door handles in a hospital. I've done a bunch of different types of jobs. I always made sure I was working because, you know, if you're not working, you're going to end up on the streets. Like, you can't pay your bills. You need to work. And once I got to like 27, it was just like, boom. I hit a brick wall. I don't know what happened, but since then, I've been in and out of work. Sometimes only last a few weeks. I think the longest I lasted was about a year. I've tried to get counselling a couple of times. The first time I done it, basically I ended up in a couple of relationships between 27 and like the age I am now, and they were really good people. So I was sort of gaining. I skipped all the therapy and all that, and I just took my confidence from them. But it's not sustainable and it's not healthy, and both of those relationships ended badly due to my behaviour. So I basically, last year, I realised that what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So I decided I'm not doing it anymore. I need to sort my head out, however long that takes, however painful that is. When I knew I was going to be going off sick last year, I basically applied for universal credit, but I didn't start any of the other stuff. You know, go to the doctor to seek counselling. I spoke to the doctor, but I told him I wasn't ready for counselling and I would get back in touch when I was. And I got back in touch maybe April or May this year and got put on a 7-month waiting list. So my sick pay ended around the same time that I got back in touch with the doctors, which then leaves you just on the basic universal credit, because sick pay with your universal credit is not great, but you can survive, you know. Once the sick pay finishes and you're just on the universal credit, it's a whole different ballgame. I get deductions from my universal credit. You're entitled to like £400 a month paid into your account, and then they pay my rent, which is £350, but they take £60 a month off of me. So I get £340 a month into my account, and like no extra money or anything from anywhere else. There's food banks and there's stuff like that you can go to, but other than that, you're just on your own. I've applied for like, there's a thing called limited capability for work and work related activities. I applied for that and I just got the first part of that, which is LWC, limited capability for work, which means that you only need to go into the job centre every 3 months instead of every couple of weeks, but you don't get any extra money. Even though they agree that there's something up, it's just, you're not unwell enough to need any extra assistance financially. And then there's the adult disability payment. You can apply for that for basically all through my 20s. I probably should have been getting that payment, and I wasn't, because I didn't know about it. I didn't think I'd qualify. You're so caught up in your stuff that you're not even a lot of the time really thinking like, how can I help myself out of this? You're just stuck. And that's all I can describe it as, like all of my 20s just stuck in this terrible mentality, this horrible mindset of I'm gonna die young, I'm useless, what's the point in trying? And a couple of times, like, I don't know if I've mentioned it in other videos, a couple of times I did sort of get like a little boost for a couple of months, but that boost would come from the relationship I was in, and sort of like I was getting my confidence and stuff from being in a relationship with a really good person, which isn't sustainable because I still had the same mindset and views of myself as being like useless and awful, and so I behaved awful and I was useless. It's a weird vicious circle that you end up in, and I've just been in it for so long, and people get hurt. You hurt people when you're in that circle. So I'm breaking the circle. I'm waiting on the counselling. I'm like 6 months into my 7-month waiting list. I'm trying to do all my content stuff, and when I was getting a sick pay, I could still jump about and semi-justify doing what I was doing. You know, I'm like, it's okay to spend this money that I can't afford to spend because hopefully I'll build it into something, but it hasn't built into it hasn't really built into anything yet, other than, you know, my videos make people smile, which is pretty cool in itself. I've been off sick since last June, which is coming up on a long time now. And people say just go back, like, just, you know, get a job or do this, do that. I don't know. I've tried it. I've tried it so many times. I feel like I seriously need to knuckle down and I don't know. But am I just making excuses? You're constantly second guessing yourself as well. Like, is this the right decision? You don't know, and you only have this one life. And if I'm making the wrong choice now of waiting for this therapy to try and like sort my head out before I get back into trying to be a productive member of society, you just don't know. Like, am I wasting my time? I hope not, but I feel like I've tried the other way a bunch of times of just like getting on with it, and it doesn't work. I just end up in a worse spot by the end of it, in more debt and hurting more people. I'm sick of it. If you're wondering why there's been like a lack of content of me jumping about, I'm just skint. £340 does not go far. And I know I could try and figure out some free stuff, and I could try and, you know, jump about where I live and go for walks and stuff like that, but it's pretty mad. When that's all you're getting every month, a lot of what occupies your mind, other than your issues that you've already got, is how the fuck am I going to make it through this month? How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to eat? You're not even thinking like, where can I go somewhere nice? You know, like that's not that's not an option. You're just thinking, how am I going to pay for the gas and lecky? How am I going to feed myself? How am I going to pay for the council tax? How am I going to pay my phone bill, my internet bill from 340 quid? And again, it's not a complaint. I spoke to this Ukrainian guy that I worked with before, and I told him that I was going to be going off sick. I knew it. I could feel I was just scraping through work, like just barely getting out of my bed and making it into the work. And I just felt it one day. I'm like, I'm going off sick, man. He's like, what will happen? What will you do for money? I'm like, you get like a certain amount from the government, and you do get some sick pay and stuff. And he was just like, what the hell? I don't know if Ukraine's got a social security net, but we do. And you should use it. Sort your stuff out. If you're working and you're in your 20s and you feel like maybe you need to speak to someone, please speak to someone. Do it now while you can afford to do it from your wages. Go through BetterHelp for private care. It would just be quicker. Or you can go through the NHS, but it can take forever. But do it. Please do it. So many people have messaged me who got to their 30s and they realized that they needed to speak to someone. They've done the same as me. They hit that wall. And you will. It doesn't matter how big or tough you are. You'll hit the wall and you'll just break. And there's no shame in it. It happens. But if you had stuff that happened in your childhood or any sort of trauma or anything like that, you gotta go and sort it out. Some people can just get on with it, but not many, and it will catch up with you. And while you can afford to do it, because your health is your wealth, physical health and your mental health. And I neglected my head for so long, and my body. My lungs are gonna be scunnered, but it's all right, we'll get around to that. But I neglected my mind, you know? I ignored the little tiny part of me that was telling me to try and do something and that I'm not useless. I ignored it. I still don't believe it fully. I still haven't done my counseling and stuff. I'm just trying to keep this positive mindset. I'm trying to keep this fighter mindset, I guess. I'm trying not to give in to it, but it's rough. It really is rough, especially they say money isn't everything. They say money doesn't fix your problems. They say money doesn't make you happy. They're probably right, but a lack of money definitely causes issues, definitely adds to your problems. A lack of money definitely does not make your life easier. That's just how it goes. The system is crazy. Everything takes forever, much longer than you think it will. No one is really there to help you. And I don't mean that in the harsh way it sounds. I just mean there isn't funding for somebody, like for me personally, I need somebody on my case, like, okay, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, for me to get stuff done, because weeks will pass and it feels like 2 days have went by, you know? Like it was over a month ago that I asked the doctor if I could get a gym pass and got an email response that I missed, and then seen it like 2 days later, and by the time I'd seen it, they'd closed the case, and then it was on a Friday that happened, so I was like, okay, I'll sort it Monday, and you can only message certain times. It's now over a month later, I still haven't messaged again. Every time I go on to try and do it, it's not available. You know, like I'm just like floating about in a sea of paperwork. This is the adult disability form, right? It's a book. This is the book that they send you to fill out to try and get money. And this, I hate the word disability because it includes people with PTSD and stuff like that. Like, I hate to think of myself as disabled, you know? I wish there was another term. I wish this had another name, but like personal independence payment seemed to have a bit more dignity, whereas this is like, really? Maybe that's why they've named it that, to put people off applying. But don't be put off. Apply for everything you're entitled to and just cross your fingers that you get it. But at the moment, and for the foreseeable future, I'm going to be surviving off £340 a month. If you're wondering, you know, why I'm not doing as much stuff, or if you're wondering why I'm not doing as many food reviews, it's just literally because I cannot afford it. I feel bad asking people for help all the time, asking people for lifts and all the rest of it. I like to sort my own self out. I like to try and be independent as possible. So even being off work and relying on all this financial help, it's like, damn, man, I hate it. I hate it. I like knowing what I've got coming in. Like, I always used to keep track of my hours and stuff and know exactly, before my wage slip came through, I'd know how much I was getting paid because I'd do the tax and all that calculations. Now every month it's just like, I don't know, I feel I'm terrified in case I'm getting a sanction, even though there's no reason for me to get a sanction. You just, all the newspaper articles are constantly on about how horrible the DWP is. In my experience, they've actually been quite nice, but this is probably going to end up on YouTube. And it's not even everything I wanted to say, but yeah. Any questions, let me know. Life on Universal Credit is fucking rough. We'll get there. I'll speak to you soon.